Hello everyone, my name is Adam. I'm a professional graphic designer and animator from Casablanca, Morocco, and I will be your instructor for this Photoshop introduction course. So this course is for anyone who wants to learn the 1,000 tools available in Photoshop and to master the wide range of possibilities to create image-based work. So this course was designed for absolute beginners. So whether you never used Photoshop before or you've been using Photoshop for a couple of months but you still don't know what you're doing, this course is for you. You will be able to create your first project in record time and with excellent results. So here is what you're gonna learn by enrolling. In the first section of the course, you will start by mastering the layout, the documents management, the layers, the selection, and the application of masks. This first section is very important because without understanding the basics, you cannot build a solid knowledge of the program. And also, it will help you learn other Adobe programs like Illustrator and InDesign in case you decide to. Then in the second section of the course, you will learn everything related to the resolution, the size, and develop skills in changing, reshaping, and correcting the images exactly how you want to create your own compositions. In the third section of the course, you will become the brush master. You will learn everything from working with the brush tool to creating your own brush presets and exporting them to either sell them or share them with the world. The fourth section will be about learning all the retouching tools to clean and create images professionally, combining both manually and automated retouching methods to produce photorealistic edits. And finally, you will learn how to work with the adjustment layers to control the lights, shadows, and colors of an image efficiently. So you will need Photoshop, of course, and you will need a graphic tablet and a pen, although the graphic tablet is not necessary for the course, but it is recommended. So go ahead and enroll now to learn Photoshop like you never did before, and I promise you that by the end of this course, you will be surprised of what you can achieve in Photoshop. Okay guys, so real quick before we start the course, make sure you go ahead and download the course files from here. Okay, so projects and resources, and you're gonna find all the files in here. And if you want to download Adobe and you don't know how, you go to adobe.com, creative design, view all plans and pricing. And I recommend that you take the student and teachers plan. Okay, it is the cheapest one, but it is an annual plan, which means if you cancel before the year, you're gonna have to pay the difference between the first month and the rest of the year. Okay, so unless you want to take a monthly plan, this one, okay, $79.49. As you can see, it's quite expensive, but you can cancel anytime. Okay guys. So let's go ahead and open Photoshop. And of course, I'm using Photoshop CC 2021 as per this date, which is the 6th of December 2020. And now let's go ahead and create a new empty document. So it doesn't matter what you select from here, just click on Create. So now we will start by understanding the UI or the interface of Photoshop. Why? Because one, you need to understand where everything is located and how to access it. And two, it's going to be easier for you to learn another Adobe program. like Illustrator, for example, because all Adobe software are pretty much laid out the same. Now on the top right here, we have the menu toolbar, and each title has its own menu. On the left, we have the toolbar, and these are all the tools that you're gonna need to work on different projects. We have the move tool, the selections, the crop, the brush, the text, all you need. You can of course customize the toolbar. If you click right here, you will have 2 tools per row instead of 1 tool per row. You can remove the toolbar from here, put it here, okay, whatever you want. You can put it back or plug it back what it was if you want. So I like to keep my toolbar like this, 2 tools per row. It makes it easier to access the quick mask mode and the screen mode, and also to switch between the foreground and the background. And if you notice right here, with each tool, you have that little white triangle. And basically, if you click and hold, you will access more tools. Okay? And these tools, as I like to call them, are siblings. Why? Because they pretty much offer the same results, but the workflow is a bit different. So right now I just unplugged the toolbar by mistake. I can just go ahead and plug it back like this, no problem. And if you click on these dots and hold, click on edit toolbar, you can edit the toolbar. But I don't recommend editing the toolbar. I think you can just keep it like this. It's better. And right here we have panels, and panels will change depending on what workspace you select. So right now we are under Essentials workspace. So we have the essential panels that we need in Photoshop. We have the basics right here. Colors, if you want to choose color from here. We have the swatches, same thing, gradients and patterns, okay? And down here we have properties, adjustments, libraries. Don't worry, you're gonna learn more about those as we progress in the course. But what you need to understand is that these panels will change depending on what workspace you select. So if we change to graphic and web, now we have different panels. We have character, paragraph, and glyphs. And the reason why we have those is that because when we design websites, there's a lot of typing involved. That's why Photoshop gives you the right panels for this kind of job. If we change again, for example, to photography, we have what we need to work with photos. So we have histogram, so we can read the colors of a photo. We have the adjustments, so we can make grading and balance the whites and all that stuff. Let's go back to Essentials. And right here, for example, you can see there is an icon. And if you are just starting in Photoshop, it's gonna be hard for you to guess what panel is this just by looking at the icon. So what you can do is that you can either hover over the icon and you'll have the name of it, or you can click, drag to the workspace, and then just do this, and you have the name of it. If you don't need it, delete it, okay? If you want it back, you just come over here to Window, and then we can look for History, because that's the panel that I just deleted. Here we go. And then I can put it back like this. So when you go to Window, you will find here all the panels available in Photoshop. Everything is here. If you cannot find it here, you can find it here. And the last thing you need to know about the UI is that it's customizable. So let's say, for example, I need more space to work in Photoshop. I can click here. I can delete this, make this thing even smaller. And now I have more space to work in Photoshop. The only thing left to do is that you need to save this workspace so you can always access it when you need it. So I already have mine right here, Adam. But the way to save a workspace is that you click here, of course, and then you look for a new workspace. Let's give it a name. I'm going to call it Adam 2. Save, and now here we have it. So each time you open Photoshop, you can choose this workspace. The last thing I want to talk about is the screen mode. If you come over here, click and hold, you'll see that you have 3 screen modes. We have the standard screen mode, full screen mode with a menu bar, and we have full screen mode with nothing. I always work with full screen mode with menu bars. So basically you have more space and you have everything else untouched. And you can also switch to full screen, so you have nothing, just the picture. If you want to find some errors, if you want to check the details and stuff like this. Okay, so if you want to go back to normal, you just click on F. All right, so you either choose a screen mode from here, or you just click on F on your keyboard. So now let's go ahead and try something funny. If I come over here to File, Open, select this picture, it's gonna go ahead and open in a new window. And if I click and drag, I can unplug it from Photoshop. So the window gives us all the information we need about the picture. We have the name of the picture. We have the color mode of the picture, which is RGB and not CMYK. We have the resolution of the picture, which is 72 pixels per inch. And we have the dimensions of the picture. This right here, 8.33%, is the zoom percentage. So if I choose the zoom tool, I can zoom in and out, and it will change. Okay, if I want it back to normal, I can right click, fit on screen, and then plug it back to Photoshop. Now, if I go to layer, make sure the background or the picture is selected, I can go to filter, and then choose liquify. Now I can increase the size of the eyes. I can increase the smile. And also I can increase the size of the lower lip and the upper lip, like this. Just click and drag up and this one down. I can also come over here to the jawline and then decrease it to make it smaller. Click OK. And now we have a funny thing. If you want to export this image, you can come over here to File, Export, Quick Export as PNG, give it a name, and save it. You can also save the entire document in case you decide to come back and make changes. So click on File, Save, leave everything as it is here, and click OK. And now the document will be saved. If I close now the window, I can click right here on Home, and I'll find the saved documents right here, and I can reopen it. Okay guys, so that was pretty much all about the interface, and see you on the next one. In this lecture, I want to talk about moving around an image in Photoshop using the zoom tool and the hand tool. And this could be very important if you are doing skin retouching, because you want to be able to zoom in, fix specific spots of the image, and then move to another spot and fix it. Okay? And if you want to follow along with me, you can click on File, Open, and then just choose the image from the folder that you just downloaded. I provided you guys with all the necessary images. Now, to zoom in and out, you need to select the zoom tool right here. Now I can zoom in and out, okay? So just click and drag in and drag out. If you click and hold, it will zoom in automatically. If I hold Alt or Option, you can see the plus sign is now a minus sign. If I click and hold, it will zoom out automatically. If I click on the Move tool, I can hold Alt or Option on my keyboard and then scroll in and out with the middle mouse button. If I double click on the zoom tool, it will zoom in as maximum as the pixels allows it. If I want it back to normal, with the zoom tool still selected, I can right click and then fit on screen. Okay? One important thing to keep in mind is that if you double click and then zoom in more, the picture will start to pixelize, and we don't want this. Now, if you click on the hand, you will select the hand tool. And basically what it does is that it allows you to move around the picture, just like this. Okay? If you click and hold on the hand tool, you can access the rotate view tool. And what it does is that you can now rotate the picture. So if you click and hold, you can rotate left or right, or just rotate it like this. Now I'm going to select the move tool, and you can also access the hand tool by holding space on your keyboard. Okay? Now you can move or navigate the picture freely. Let's go ahead and see how we can use the zoom tool and the hand tool in the real world projects. So for example, let's say I want to remove this graphic word from here. I can grab the pen tool, make a selection like this around the word graphic, right click and then make selection. Now I can select the eyedropper tool, select this color. You can see the color changes right here in the foreground. Click on the brush. Make sure we have hard brush, opacity 100%, and then I can just color or paint on top of it. Control Command D to deselect. Select the zoom tool, fit on screen. Okay? Now I can zoom in and out to see the work that I've done. So as you can see, I didn't use the tools directly. I'm just using the shortcuts on my keyboard. So if I want to zoom in, I hold Alt, and if I want the hand tool, I hold space on my keyboard. So that was pretty much all for this lecture, and see you on the next one. Hello there, lovely creative people. In this lecture, we're going to be talking about creating documents and different ways of saving specific documents, okay? And this is very important, guys, believe me. Everything we do here is important if you want to be a Photoshop expert. So the first thing you have when you open Photoshop is that you have two options right here. We have Create New and we have Open. So Open will allow you to open an image or a file from your desktop. And Create New will allow you to create new documents in Photoshop. So when you click here, this window will open. Right here we have Recent, which means the recent documents we've been working with or working on. We have Saved, whatever saved preset you have here. And then we have different presets for different disciplines. So if you are into web design, you can choose presets from here. If you click on View All Presets, you will have more. And you can also download templates from Creative Cloud. You just click and then click Download. Once it's finished, it will appear here under Saved. If you are into UI design, you can click on Mobile, and then you will have different presets for the mobile design, even Apple Watch if you want. So you have pretty much everything here. You can also create your own presets. So if I come over here to preset details, this area right here, I can give a name to my presets. So for example, it's going to be Instagram post. I can choose a measurement unit from here, pixels, inches, centimeters, whatever, depending on where you live. So I would usually just go ahead and choose pixels. If you are in the US, you can choose inches, I guess. And right here, I will enter the dimensions of an Instagram post. So it's going to be 1800 pixels. by 1800 pixels. Resolution is always a good idea to have it at 300 pixels per inch, especially if you're going to print this. Color mode, just leave it RGB, 8-bit colors. You can change right here 8 bits to 16-bit or 32, but this is especially done for photography if you are working with photos and you want to access more colors than 8 bits will give you. So this is pretty much some advanced stuff. I want to leave it right now. Background content, you can leave it white. If you want black, you can change it to black, but usually it doesn't matter. Advanced options, we have color profile. If you click, you will have different color profiles right here. Okay, and here you want to pay attention, guys. So you can either choose work in RGB or don't color manage or Adobe RGB 1998. The other color profiles, as you can see here, belongs to different cameras. Okay, these are the color profiles for different photography cameras, so you don't want them included in your projects. So I will change this to work in RGB. So you're probably asking yourself, what is the use of color profile? So color profile, basically, when you finish saving your documents and you want to open it in a new software, the color guide will tell that specific software that is not Photoshop what color profile this document is. That will allow you to keep the same colors as the one you've been working with in Photoshop. You won't be surprised with different colors when you reopen the documents in a previous version of Photoshop or another software. And once you finish setting up everything, you can click here on this icon, give it a name. So this one is going to be Instagram post presets, save presets, and now it is saved directly under saved. Okay, create new, and here we have it. I can hide this layer for now. Okay, now let's go ahead and talk about different ways of saving a Photoshop document. So I'm just gonna go ahead and build something real quick. Okay, just to save it, because I hate saving empty documents. Okay, you don't have to know what I'm doing right now because you will learn all of this stuff later. And the colors, and then just draw in the eyes real quick like this. There you go. There you go. Hold the pen tool. Click here. I'll just click here and drag like this. Just smile. Then just draw something like this. So once you finish your work on Photoshop, you want to go ahead and save your file. So now, right now we finished. Let's go to File and then look for Save As. You will have this window. It's going to ask you, do you want to save to Cloud Documents or do you want to save on your computer? Now, the best option, of course, is to save on your computer. If you don't want to see this box again, you just click on Don't Show Again, okay? But I want to see it again, so I'm going to leave this one unchecked. Save on your computer. Now we need to choose the folder where Photoshop is going to save this file. So you can choose your folder from here. I already have mine selected, which is Creative Cloud Files. File name, I'm going to name it Mickey Mouse Gothic, like this. And save as type, if you click here, you will find a lot of options. We're not going to explain all these options. We will just explain the most used one. So the first one and the most common one is to save your photo as PSD. Why? Because you will not lose quality and you will retain all the editing options. Okay? So when you reopen that PSD file, you will be able to finish your work or edit your work. You just want to make sure of two things. You want to make sure you have layers right here selected or checked. And of course, you want to have the color profile that we selected earlier checked. It's very important. If you don't check layers, if you uncheck it, you will not be able to edit your documents. Save. This window will open. It says here maximize compatibility. That means this document will be compatible with newer or older versions of Photoshop or any other design software that you decide to open this document with. Click OK. And now we have our file saved under Creative Cloud Files as .psd extension. Okay, guys. Here it is. Now let's go ahead, click again on Save As on your computer. And the other extension I want to talk about is .tiff. So you want to save as TIFF for two reasons, okay? The first reason is that you're going to send the document to a printer. And that TIFF extension uses a lossless data compression, which means it doesn't compress the image itself, it just compresses the data. I know it sounds kind of weird, but it's what it does. So the .tiff extension file will be bigger in size than the .psd because it has more resolution, more quality than the .psd. And you also want to save as TIFF if you're going to open this document and another design program. Some programs accept that you open .tiff extensions, but don't accept .psd. So you can think of TIFF as an older version of .psd extension. You don't have to worry about layers, but you want to keep the ICC profile checked, okay? Click on Save. You will have this TIFF options window that will pop up. You can leave everything as it is here, okay? The only thing you need to pay attention to is the image compression. So you can either choose none, I don't want my image compressed, I want to leave everything as it is, or you can choose the LZW. In this case, the image will not be compressed, but the data will be compressed, okay? So as you can see here, when I hover over it, it says compression on composite image data, okay? Click OK, and now we have including all layers will increase the file size, okay? And now we have our TIFF file saved. Now let's go ahead and talk about another option that you can choose, which is saving as .jpeg. This one. And this one you don't have to worry about layers because it's going to save it as a single picture. Just make sure you have the ICC profile selected, click Save. You will have this window open. So when do you use the .jpeg option? You use it when you want to upload this image into a website, into the web. Could be Facebook, Instagram, whatever. You can choose the quality of the image from here. Make sure you have preview selected so you can check the quality. Now, 10 is an okay quality. You don't notice a difference. But if I bring it all the way down, I don't know if you see it, but the image did lose a lot of quality. But because this is black and yellow, it's not obvious. So you can either keep it as 10 or maximum, which is 12. Okay, so this is 12 maximum. You can see the file size right here, it does increase. And if I bring it all the way, for example, to 1, you can see the file size decreased by half. So if you want to send a preview to a client or upload your image into the web, saving as .jpeg is a pretty good option. So I'm going to leave it in 12 and then just click OK. And now we have saved our image as .jpeg. Let's go to File, Save As again, Computer. And this time I want to talk about .psb. Now .psb is the same as .psd. The only difference is that if you're working on a big document, let's say for example you build in a website or a UI design, if the file size is above 2 gigabytes, it will not allow you to save the documents as PSD or as anything else. You need to save as large document format, which is .psb. Okay, and finally the .png if you want to have a transparent document saved, and it also doesn't lose any quality when you save .png. The file doesn't lose any quality when you save as PNG, which is good about it. Okay guys, that was pretty much all about how to save your files, and see you on the next lecture. In this lecture, we're going to be talking about the Move tool in Photoshop. This tool right here. Now, it may seem like it's not a big deal, but it's very important to understand how to move objects in Photoshop. So I want you to come over here to File, Open, and find that folder called Fake Mustache. Click on this picture, hold Shift, and click on the last picture. Click Open, and the 3 pictures will open in 3 different windows. Now we want to move all 3 of them to this Instagram presets documents that we have right here. So let's start with the women first. Open Layers. Make sure you unlock the locked background. Then click and drag to the Instagram documents. And now you can click again and reposition the image accordingly. Okay, so this is one way of moving pictures between windows. Or what you can do, for example, is right-click on the layer, look for Duplicates layer, and then select the document where you want to move this layer. Okay? And here we have the mustache. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the rows. Right-click, Duplicates layer, select the name of the document or the destination, click OK, and here we have it. Now we can go ahead and close these files because we're not going to need them anymore. I'm going to turn this to full screen and then just increase the size of the layers panel like this. I'm going to go ahead and rename real quick my layers. So this one is mustache. Rows. Women. Now, if you want to move the mustache, you need to click on the mustache and then move it like this. Okay? So you see when I'm moving it, you can see sometimes these pink lines, and these are the smart guides. Okay? It helps to guide you according to the canvas or to the objects. So I'm going to place the mustache right here. And now if I want to move the rows, if I click on the rows and drag, the mustache is going to move. Okay? Why? Because we need to select the rows layer and then move the rows like this. I'm going to go ahead and add a circle here. Click, hold Shift and drag. And position it here. Like this. Click on layers. And then just rename this circle. Now I'm going to reselect the ellipse tool and then change the color of the circle to this. Okay, so you can see I'm just sampling the color from this thing that she has on her fingers. Click OK. And then I'm going to come over here to stroke and then remove the stroke. Position the circle accordingly, and now you can see the guides. It's telling you that the circle now is well aligned with the rows. You can see 2 lines and 1 line from the center of the circle to the center of the rows. That means they're both well aligned. Open the layers panel from here or click F7 on your keyboard. With the circle selected, I'm going to go ahead and click right here and change the blend mode to overlay. Now, if we want to move the circle to the right and the rose to the left, we need to select the circle again, move it here, select the rose, and move it here. Now, this is a good way to move objects in Photoshop if you don't have a lot of layers. But if you have thousands of layers laying here, it's going to be difficult to work with this method because it's going to ruin your life and your workflow. So what you need to do is when you have the move tool selected, you need to check auto selects. Now this time, if I want to move stuff, I can just click on the stuff and move it. I can click on a mustache, on a picture, and then just move stuff. Okay? So up until now, we know how to move things in Photoshop using the move tool. But there is also another way to move things in Photoshop, and that's if you come over here to Window and look for History. You will find here all the moves that we did when we opened Photoshop. So this is very important if you want to move back and fix something, or if you want to move back to the original design that you did the first time. So for example, if I click here, it's gonna move back, and then here, move back, move back, move back, up till here. You see? And so once I click, it shows me all the stuff that I did. There is also another method to move back and forward, is if you hold Control or Command plus Z, it's gonna move back. And if you click on Control Command plus Shift plus Z, it's gonna move forward. Okay guys, now see you on the next lecture when we're gonna be talking about layers. In this lecture, we're going to be talking about layers, and it's important to note that layers are the foundation of working in Photoshop. So click on Open, and then I want you to find this document, t-shirt mockup.psd. Open again. Once you open the file, the Layers panel should open automatically, and you'll have 3 layers here. If this doesn't open, you can click F7 on your keyboard, or you can come over here to Window and then look for Layers, okay? So the first thing you need to know about layers is that the order in which your layers are is very important, because I want you to think of layers as papers, as transparent papers. So let's say, for example, you want to build a character. You're going to have a paper with the eyes, another paper with the mouth, with the ears, the hair, and so on. And you're gonna put these papers on top of each other to create the character. And if one of these papers is not transparent, it's solid, and you put it on top, it's gonna cover the entire thing. So right here, for example, you can see that we have a crown, and we have the text that I have transformed into shape. And then we have the t-shirt and the background right here, and it's locked. So if you want to unlock a layer, you just click on the lock and it will be unlocked. If you want to lock it back, you can click on the lock here and you will lock it back. Now, if I bring this layer 0 and put it on top, you can see what I'm talking about. You cannot see the crown and the text because this layer is not transparent, it's solid. So it's covering the crown and the text. If I keep this layer selected and I come over here to opacity, which is the transparency, and decrease it a little bit, you will see the document beneath it. I'm going to put it back where it was. The other thing I want to talk about is that naming your layers. So if you're working with a small object like this, 3 layers, no need to name them because you will recognize which layer is which. But if you're working on a big project and you have thousands of layers, you need to name them. So to rename a layer, you double click on the type and then you enter a name. Like this. You can also hide a layer. by clicking on this eye right here. So for example, I want to hide the crown. I can click here. Now it's gone. It's invisible. And now I can make it visible back again. Okay. Some designers prefer to work this way instead of naming their layer. They just toggle between visible and invisible to guess which layer is this. But this is a bad practice. I don't want you to do this. I mean, unless you spent years in Photoshop, then you can work however you want, because then you'll be comfortable. You can also delete a layer. So for example, let's say we want to delete the crown. I can click on layer, hold, drag it, and put it on top of the trash can right here, release, and it will be deleted. Control Command Z, and I have it back. Or you can simply select the layer and click on delete on your keyboard, and it will be deleted. If you want to create a new layer, let's say for example, I want to add my signature right here, I can click on this plus icon, and it will add a new layer, and then I can select the brush, make sure I have white here, and then just do something here like this, and here we have it. So you always create a new layer when you want to apply an adjustment to an existing layer, okay? You never go ahead and apply adjustment to the same layer. This is a bad way of working in Photoshop. It's called working the destructive way. You add a new layer and then you add your stuff. The other thing I want to talk about is duplicating the layers. So let's say, for example, I want to duplicate the type. I can select the layer right here, and then there are different ways to duplicate a specific layer. I can either click, hold, drag and put it on top of this plus icon, or I can Control Command J for Juliet to duplicate. Or what you can do, for example, is just let me hide the background for a second. Let's say I want to duplicate the crown. I can hold Alt or Option on my keyboard, click and drag, and it will duplicate automatically and add a new layer. Control Command Z to undo everything. I'm going to go ahead and lock the background right now. Now you're probably thinking why you're not seeing the duplicated layers. That's because each layer is on top of the other one. So you can just click and drag and you will see the duplicated one. Okay? There we go. Now there is a big chance that you have copy added to the duplicated layers. And the reason why you don't see copy added on my duplicated layers is because I removed this option. So if you want to remove it, you just click on the menu burger or the burger menu, then look for panel options, and then make sure you uncheck this thing right here. Add copy to copied layers and groups. Okay? Once you uncheck it, click OK. And finally, when you duplicate layers like this, you have repeated layers. The best thing to do is to organize your layers panel. So you need to group them. And in order to group them, you can select all of them. Like you can click on one layer, hold Shift and click on the other one, and it will select everything. Or you can just click and hold Control and click like this. And then right click and then look for Group from Layers. You can give the new folder a name. So I can just leave it Group 1 for now. Okay. And if I click here, I have my layers here. Okay, guys? Or you can just click on Control or Command G and it will group automatically. If you want to remove a layer from a specific group, you just click on that specific layer and then drag it on the top of the group folder. And now it is removed. Now I'm going to go ahead and explain one more thing. If I go to File, New, and create a new document, let's create, for example, a tabloid. You'll see that when you open a new document, you will have a solid white background locked, okay? And it's important to make the difference between a background layer and a normal layer. So the background layer is added automatically. And it's always locked, okay? It's a white background and it's always locked. And a normal layer is when you add a layer yourself. It's transparent. You can see right here that it's transparent. There is no color on it. So when you go ahead, for example, and draw something, and let's say you want to save this transparent, you need to remove this background, because if you export it like this, it's not going to be transparent. It's going to be with the white background, even if you select or you export as PNG. So you need to remove this, and you can now export this circle with a transparent background or as transparent PNG picture. Okay guys, so that was pretty much all you need to understand about layers for now, and see you on the next one. In this lecture, I'm going to be talking about simple selection tools in Photoshop. So basically the lasso tool and the shape marquee tools. So click on open and find the folder named Hello Composition. Click on the first picture, hold Shift and click on the last picture, then open. I'm going to go full screen by clicking F on my keyboard. And now let's start with this picture right here. Now you can see we have a rectangular golden frame. So the first simple selection tools I want to start with are the shape marquee tools. These ones right here. So you can see in this image we have a rectangular golden frame. So the best option would be to use the rectangular marquee tool. So select it and then click right here on the frame and drag and make a selection like this. Now even if you select the white area, it's not a problem, because I will show you how to fix this. Once you have a selection like this, if you want to fix it, you can come over here to select, transform selection, and then you can fix those edges. But it's important to hold Shift when fixing the edges. That way you don't transform the entire selection like this. You see now I transform the entire selection if I don't hold Shift. But if you hold Shift, you just transform the desired area. So hold Shift and drag. And now we have a good selection. Once you're happy with the selection, you can click here, and here you have it. So now we have the golden frame selected, but we also have this white area selected, and we don't want it. We want it to be transparent. So in order to remove this white area from the frame, with the rectangle marquee tool still selected, you can hold Alt or Option like this. Now we can see the minus sign on the cursor. Click and then draw over the white area. Once you have the guide like this in the middle, that means everything is well centered. You can go ahead and release the selection. Now we have selected the frame and removed the white area from inside the frame. You can also move your selection if you want. So you can see, for example, when I'm inside the selection, I have like a cross. And then when I move here, I have like an arrow. So once you have this with the rectangle marquee tool still selected, you can move the selection however you want. Okay? Now we need to move this golden frame to a new document where we will be compositing our images all together. So to do this, you can do it in two ways. You can either Control-Command-C or Control-Command-V in the new document, or you can just click on Edit, copy, then go to Window and scroll down, click on this black arrow to go even down further, choose the name of the document, I'm guessing is this one. Yes, and then edit, paste, and now we have the golden frame inside. Okay, now let's go ahead and make a new selection. Let's switch documents again. And so for this specific picture, I'm not going to be using the shape marquee tools. I will be using the lasso tool. So if you click and hold, you will have different lasso tools here. We have the lasso tool, the normal one, the polygon lasso tool, and the magnetic lasso tool. So I'm just gonna explain for now the lasso tool and the polygon lasso tool. The magnetic lasso tool, I will leave it for later because I consider it to be an advanced tool. So the lasso tool, if I click on it, I can make a freehand selection like this by drawing over an object like this. And you can see that this selection is gonna be a bit hard because you're drawing with your hand, okay? It's very sensitive to the movements of your hand. So in this case, the lasso tool won't work. What we need to do is to use the polygon lasso tool. So Control Command D to deselect, or just come over here to select and deselect, and then use the polygon lasso tool. Because the polygon lasso tool is very useful when drawing over geometric shapes, anything with no curves at all. So I can start, for example, from here, click, and then move, and then click again, and then just work on my selection. Let's say, for example, I make a mistake like this. I can click on delete on my keyboard and do the selection again. So you can see how I am using space and the zoom to move in and make the selection, just like I explained earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and speed up this process a little bit because I don't want to keep you with me forever here. I know it's a bit tedious, but it is what it is if you want to be a designer. Okay guys, now you can see I'm almost done, and right before I click right here to close the selection, you can see that there is like a small circle that it does appear near to the lasso tool. That means if you click here, you will close the selection. Okay, now we have a beautiful, nice selection using the poly lasso tool. So I can just Control Command C, Control Command V, okay? Click on a Move tool, open the Layers panel, and then I'm just gonna rename my layers real quick. So this one is gonna be Cube, and this one is gonna be Frame. Now we need to rotate, scale, and position these pictures to create a composition. So let's start with the frame first. I'm gonna click here to hide the cube. And with the frame layer selected, I'm gonna come over here to Edits, and then look for Free Transform. This one. Or you can just use the shortcut, which is Control or Command plus T. Now I can resize the golden frame. You can see if I drag from the corner down, it will resize the entire thing. If I click from anywhere and drag, it's gonna resize the entire thing, okay? I'm gonna rotate it 90 degrees or minus 90. You can just enter the value manually here. Minus 90, enter. I'm gonna scale it down even further. Okay, like this. Click OK. Now what I need to do is just increase the width of the frame without increasing the entire dimensions of the frame. So Control Command T for the free transform, and then hold Shift, and then just drag from this side, just like this. Okay guys, click OK. Maybe I'll put it down here a little bit. There we go. Once you're happy with the frame, do the same thing with the cube. Control Command T, and then just reposition it and rescale it. Scale it down like this. Okay. I'm gonna put the cube behind the frame like this. And I just want to make sure they both are at the same line. Now you can see the guide, the pink guide, that means they both are aligned under the same line. Now I'm going to select the background, click again here, hold, and this time I want to select the elliptical marquee tool. I will draw a circle like this that doesn't exceed the edges of the frame. And now I'm gonna create a new selection and a new layer. So Control Command C to copy and Control Command V. And now if I go ahead and hide the background layer, you can see that I have a new circular selection and a new layer. I'm gonna go ahead and click on Control Command T again. And again, just rotate this upside down. Minus 180. 180. This. So you can either put minus 180 or just 180, the same thing. If you put minus, it's going to be the same thing. And then enter. And then let's bring the background back. And here we have it. Okay? Now the next thing I want to do is just match colors to make everything looks like it belongs together, and then just apply some small Photoshop effects. Now I know it's too early for this, but these techniques I'm about to show you are super easy, and we're just gonna do it now to make this composition look more interesting. So to match colors, it's very simple. You select the layer that you want to match. This is of course the beginner's way of doing it, and then you come over here to image, and then you select auto color. You can see the color changed a little bit. Auto contrast, and then auto tone. Okay, we do the same thing for the frame. Auto color, auto contrast, auto tone. Okay guys, now it looks more like they belong inside this environment. And finally, I will select the new layer that we created. Let me change the name to circle. And then come over here to filter, distort, and then apply this effect called twirl. 50% is good. Click OK. And now you can see that we have this beautiful distortion. It looks like a glass, and it's very beautiful. Select the cube, filter, distort, and this time I will apply the zigzag effect. Okay, leave everything as it is, just click OK. And here we have it. Okay. So that was pretty much all for the simple selection tools, and see you on the next lecture to explain a bit more advanced selection tools. And don't forget, guys, that once you finish, you're gonna go ahead and save your composition. In this lecture, I want to go ahead and explain how some of the advanced selection tools in Photoshop work. So basically, I'm going to be explaining the Magic Wand tool, Quick Selection tool, and the Object Selection tool. If you want to follow with me, you can open this document. So go to File, Open, and click on this document right here, Selection Tools Explained. Now let's start with the Magic Wand. So what you need to understand about this tool is that it works based on tolerance. So it allows you to make precise selection. For example, if you want to select a tree, you would want to use the Magic Wand tool. Now, if I go ahead and click in the middle, you can see that it will select a little bit of the white area of this gradient and a little bit of the dark area. And because the tolerance is 32, so we have 16 points of the light area and 16 points of the dark area. You can also see that it went ahead and selected the top area and the bottom area without touching the yellow rectangle right here. Why? Because the job of this tool is to select an entire image with the same color. So it detected the same color in the bottom and selected it. If you want to add to the selection using the magic wand tool, you need to hold Shift and click. If you want to delete a selection, you can just hold Alt or Option. You will see now the minus sign, and then you can click on the selection to delete it. Now let's go ahead and talk about these options right here. So first we have anti-alias. So this basically goes ahead and smoothen the edges of a jagged digital image. So if you want to have smooth edges and not jagged edges, you need to leave anti-alias checked all the time when you make a selection with the magic wand tool. And you also want to have sample all layers always selected, because you want to be able to make a selection based on what you see on the canvas and not based on what layer is selected. Okay? And finally, we have contiguous. So contiguous basically means that if you check this option, you will not be able to select an entire image, but just parts of the image. So for example, if I click Control Command D to unselect and I check contiguous, if I click here again, this time, it will only select this parts, ignoring the bottom area of the image. And that's even if the image has the same color. Okay, so very important to keep this in mind. So depending on what you want to do, you can either check or uncheck the contiguous option. So these are my recommendation for using the magic wand tool. Keep the tolerance 32, keep anti-alias checked, and keep sample all layers checked. Now let's go ahead and move to the quick selection tool. Now the quick selection tool is more useful when you have an object and an image with a defined shape. It could be either a geometric shape or an organic shape like a leaf, for example. So for example, if I want to select this yellow rectangle, I can just click and drag and it will select it automatically. On the top right here, you have sample all layers, which is the same as the magic wand tool. And you need to check enhance edge. This will also go ahead and smoothen the edge selection. And the cool thing about the quick selection tool is that if I come over here, for example, and make this layer visible, I can add to the selection without having to press or hold any button on my keyboard. So I have this yellow rectangle selected. If I want to add this submarine to the selection, I can just click on it and it will be added automatically. Because as you can see here, we have the brush with the plus icon selected by default. So the magic wand tool is perfect for a precise selection, and the quick selection tool is perfect for a shape selection. Now we have the object selection tool. Now this tool only been added recently into Photoshop. I think it was added last November 2019. And this is such a great tool that allows you to make complex selection with complex background. So let's go ahead and open another document, this one. And this is a good example to explain how the object selection tool works. Now with the object selection tool, I can just click and draw like some sort of a rectangle on top of my desired object that I want to select, release, and then it will automatically make a perfect selection for my objects. So this tool basically works using some weird Adobe artificial intelligence to find the subject or the object based on the area that you selected and then just extract it from the image. And so of course you can choose from here, do you want to have a rectangle or a lasso tool? So if I Control Command D to deselect and choose the lasso tool, I can do the same thing as we did earlier when I was explaining the lasso tool like this. That was a bad drawing. But it will go ahead and select the object perfectly, unlike the lasso tool. So this new selection tool added by Adobe, as you can see, is quite powerful and it could be revolutionary. But of course, it has its imperfection and we will see it on the upcoming lectures. So that was pretty much it, guys, for this lecture, and see you on the next one. In this lecture, we'll go ahead and see how we can use the selection tools we talked about earlier in real-world projects. So click on Open and find the document named Hello Composition 2. Click, hold Shift and click here and then Open. Let's start with this image right here. I'm going to go full screen. So let's say, for example, I want to select the tree. I will do it using the magic wand tool because this is a difficult selection. And so one thing you should keep in mind is that when you have a difficult selection like this, so you have to ask yourself, which is easier to select? Is it the sky and the clouds or the branches of this tree? Okay, always ask yourself this question when you make a selection. So in this case, it's obvious that it's easier to select the sky and the clouds. So with the magic wand tool selected, I'm going to click and select the sky. Now it will select everything with the same color as the sky. Why? Because we don't have contiguous checked. Okay. Tolerance, as I said, you always leave it at 32. And keep in mind that the lower the tolerance, the more precise the selection is going to be. But I always recommend leave it in 32. You can experiment with less tolerance with some pictures if you want, but the go-to is 32. Now I'm going to hold Shift and I want to select also the cloud. Okay, so I'm just selecting everything here that is not the same color as the tree or the bushes. So now I think this is a pretty good selection, but remember that we selected the sky and the clouds and we did not select the tree. So we need to inverse the selection. Click on Select, Inverse. Now, as you can see right here, we have the tree and the bushes and everything else selected, but the sky and the clouds. Now this is enough, we can just copy and paste, but we need to make some adjustment. We need to refine the selection. So to refine a specific selection, you just click here, Select and Mask on the option bar. So right here, you can choose the color of the background. And remember, when choosing the color of the background, when adjusting a mask, you need to always select the opposites of the color that you already had. So for example, right here, we had the bright color, white and cyan. We need to select the opposite of that, which is a dark color. So probably blue or dark blue or black, just like this. So we can see clearly the edges and what do we need to refine. Click OK. Now I'm going to zoom in to the picture using the magnifier or the zoom tool. Just zoom in a little bit to check the edges. Here we go. Now you can see that there is still some blue selected right here on the edges of this tree. So what you can do, for example, is just use two tools right here in the properties. We will adjust the feather. That will smoothen the edges. So we will have less jagged edges. And you want to increase it just a little bit. Never go beyond 1 pixel. You always go below 1 pixel. And then you will find Shift Edges and we will drag it down negative values so we can delete. You can see that the blue from the edges is starting to disappear. Maybe I should increase the feather a little bit. And I think I will just leave it at 1 pixel. Now you can see that the selection is much better than before, but we still have some blue colors by the edges. So when you adjust the shift edges and you adjust the feather and you still have colors by the edges, you can then go ahead and work on some radius. So the radius will determine how many pixels to change on each side of the edge to get rid of that blue that is bothering us. Okay, this is much better. Another option would be to go ahead and check Smart Radius. This will automatically go ahead and adjust the radius for hard and soft edges that we have here. And now you have a choice. If you want, you can remove the grass and the ground and keep just the tree, or if you need it, you can just leave it like this. So just in case you want to remove this, you have to click on the brush tool, select minus, increase the size of the brush. So you can either increase it from here or clicking on right brackets on your keyboard. So right increases and left decreases. Make sure it's minus, and then we can just delete the area that we don't need, just like this. And I can just keep the part that I need. Let's zoom in, then I can decrease the size of my brush and then delete this. So if you want to hide, you choose minus. If you want to reveal, you choose plus. Okay. Okay guys, so you get the idea. Once you're happy, you scroll even further, and right here you can see output settings. So you want to select, I want this refined selection to be output to a new layer. Click OK. And here we have it, guys, okay? And now let's go ahead and switch to this one. Now same thing with this picture. Let's say you want to select the branches of this tree. Select the magic wand tool and then simple the sky. Then you can add selections like this. I think this is a pretty good selection we have here. So I'm holding shift, as you can see, to make sure I have selected all the areas of the sky. Because most of the time when selecting a gloomy sky like this, we have darker and whiter areas in the sky, just like the gradient example we did in a previous lecture. Okay, now we go ahead and invert the selection. Select and mask. And here we have it. We can just increase the feather a little bit, 0.7. And then output, new layer, okay. And here we go. Okay, guys? So this one, I want you to go ahead and do on your own. You're gonna use pretty much the same technique we did earlier with the last two pictures. And now let's talk about this one. So this one, as you can see, it has a shape, a well-defined shape. And so we have two options. You can either use the quick selection tool. I'm going to increase the size of the brush, again using the left bracket on my keyboard. And then just click, hold, and draw over the leaf. This part right here is quite thin, so I'm going to go ahead and decrease the size of the quick selection brush. Okay, and then try to make a selection here. Here we go. Now this part needs a little bit of fixing, so I can hold Alt and then just delete the selection that I don't need, just like this. Increase the size of the brush and then do it again by holding Alt. And now here we have it. Okay? A nice selection using the quick selection tool. Now select and mask. And boom, bada boom. We have a little bit of a problem here that we can fix easily using the brush. Decrease the size, choose minus, and then just delete I think that was too much. Just delete this like this. Here we go. And here we go from here and from here. And now we can just adjust the feather a little bit. Increase it just a little bit like this. Shift edges. Drag it to the left. And then output selection to new layer, okay? And here we have a nice selection. So I'm gonna hide this and make this one visible again, select it. Or the more easier option would be to go ahead and select the object selection tool. So here's the thing, guys. My job here is to show you how all these selection tools work in Photoshop. And then after you get comfortable, you can go ahead and choose the right selection tool depending on the picture that you're working with. And sometimes you need to combine more than one selection tool. But usually if I was working directly on this picture for a project, I would usually go and select the object selection tool right away and then just draw a rectangle over it to release, and I will have a nice selection right away without having to work harder, okay? But since we are explaining Photoshop and different tools, I needed to do the quick selection tool for this one. Select mask, and you can see that this is a very clean selection. We don't need even to adjust the settings right here. So just output directly to a new layer. Okay, so this is pretty much all for this lecture. We're gonna go ahead and continue on the next lecture. Now let's talk about this photo right here. So sometimes it's not enough to use just one selection tool. You have to use two tools or maybe more in combination. Like for example, in this photo, you can see that there is this picture of the leaf and there is also the shadow casted on the ground. So in this case, what I would do here is select the object selection tool, make a selection like this, and then I'll go ahead and choose the quick selection tool, and then just refine the areas. I will select the minus brush here or subtract from selection, or you can just hold Alt, but better select this one. And now I can just delete areas that I don't want included in the selection. And that's basically are the shadows. And now I can switch to the normal brush, decrease the size, and then just select this area. Like this. Go back to the minus brush, and then increase the size a little bit, and then just delete the shadow from here. All the way. That was too much. You see, sometimes you make this mistake. So Control Command Z, and let's do it again. I think I went a little bit too high. Let's try like this. Let's see here. Still this part. Decrease the brush like this. Make plus brush, and then just select this one, and here we go. Okay, this area needs to be unselected as well, so here we go. And now we have a beautiful selection that we can refine. So you see, guys, that using tools in combination can really help with some difficult selections. Now selecting mask, zoom in so we can see the imperfections, select the brush, increase it, select the minus because we want to delete some areas from here. So you can see the white stuff from here needs to be removed. So if you click X on your keyboard, you can remove the mask so you can see the initial picture, just to sort of see what you're doing in case you get lost. It just increased the feather a little bit and decrease shifting the edges a little bit. New layer, okay. And here we have our selection. Okay. So of course I understand that this part right here still needs some work, but just for the sake of this lecture, and since this is a beginner's course, I'm gonna leave it like this. So if you think this is difficult, you just need to give yourself a little bit more time until you become more comfortable using Photoshop. Then all of this will become like second nature. So let's see if we still have a picture that we didn't choose. Yeah, this one I told you to work on. I think I am missing a picture. File open. Yes, so this picture right here, I forgot to add it to the documents. So open. Now you can see that this is a quite difficult selection. Mostly because of the background. We don't have a solid color background. We have a lot of things going on in the background, different colors and stuff. So let me show you how you can work with such pictures. You can just again select the object selection tool and make a selection like this. You will have a nice selection, as you can see. We can either refine using the quick selection tool again. Hold Alt and then just drag like this. Same thing here. Okay, now you can see that the object selection tool can really be helpful in combination with the quick mask. Select a mask. Now we have a nice selection, as you can see. The hair can use some work if we select this tool right here, the refine edge brush tool, decrease it a bit, and I can just draw on the edge of the hair like this. And here we have it, we have the hair. Let's choose a different color because the hair is black, so maybe something like this. Okay. Now, smart radius, because we're working with the human. Increase the feather. And just a little bit of shift edge decrease. Increase the feather to 1 pixel. Can fix this area with the refine selection tool and then just draw over this area like this, so we can delete a little bit of the background, maybe more. All right, guys, output new layer, okay. And here we have it. In this lecture, we will learn how to mask in Photoshop. So go ahead again and click on Open. And find this folder called Masking. Click on this picture. Now go to File, Place Embedded, and then choose this picture. I'm gonna resize it a little bit, like this. Here we go. Now let's say you want to put this picture inside this frame right here, using the only methods that we've learned so far. So let's go ahead first and position this picture right here accordingly, like this. So when you see the line of the guide like this, that means the picture is well centered. Click OK. Now I'm gonna hide this, zoom in. Select the polygon tool, this one, the polygon lasso tool, and then let's make a selection on the frame. So just click, hold Shift, click here, hold Shift to make a straight line, and then click here, hold Shift again to make a straight line, and click here. And now let's just connect everything together, hold Shift again. And here we go. And now, of course, we can adjust the selection. So select transform selection. And let's make some small adjustments real quick. Don't forget again to hold Shift to only affect the desired areas of the picture. We don't want to resize everything together. Same thing here. And same thing here, hold Shift and drag. Once you finish, click OK. Now we can unhide our top layer with the girl. Make sure it is selected. Go to Select, Inverse, and just click on Delete on your keyboard. You're gonna get this message saying could not complete your request because the smart object is not directed, blah, 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 blah. That means you need to rasterize the layer. Now, I know this is quite advanced, but it happens all the time, so you need to understand how to work with this. Whenever you see this message, when it says the smart object is not directly editable, you just right click on the layer and then rasterize layer. Okay, now if I delete, I will have the image inside the frame, Control-Command-D to unselect, and here we have it. Now this method is only logic using what we have learned so far. But the problem when masking this way is that it's destructible. You cannot edit the mask. Let's say, for example, I want to adjust the position of the girl, rescale it, or apply any direct edit to the girl. It's not going to be possible. I have to go back to the original image, edit it, and then mask it again. So it's going to be a lot of work and a lot of unnecessary steps. So in order to fix this, we need to apply masks. And we use masks in Photoshop to control what to show in an image and what not to show in an image without deleting parts of the image. So masks in Photoshop are just like the faceless man from Game of Thrones. So first, let's go ahead and undo a couple of the steps that we've done. Let's go back until here, until we only have the selection of the frame. And now this time, just instead of inversing the selection and clicking on delete, you can leave the selection as it is, as you did with the poly lasso tool, and then just click on this icon right here where it says mask. And now it's gonna mask the image. Keep in mind that the image is not deleted, the image is only masked. If you look at this thumbnail right here, you can see white's rectangle and you can see black background. Now black is concealing and white is revealing. If I hold Alt or Option and click, you can see a bigger view of what's going on, or preview of what's going on. If I hold Alt or Option and click back again, we go back to normal. So for example, if I click on a brush and make sure we have whites right here on the foreground, I can reveal the rest of the image, just like this, you see? So now let's say we want to adjust the picture inside the frame. We can click here on this link icon, select the picture, select the move tool, and now I can move the picture freely inside the frame. Okay? I can Control Command T and rescale the picture or resize the picture a bit. I can adjust the position of the picture. Just like this, and then click OK. Once you finish adjusting your picture, you need to bring the link back. It's very important because if you not bring it back, you may end up making a mistake like this or like this, you know, and then it's gonna be bad, it's gonna mess you up, you're gonna worry, and then all that bad stuff is gonna happen. So Control Command Z to undo, and then bring back the link between the picture and the mask. And one more thing I wanted to show you. Let's say, for example, we want to reveal this hand that is cropped right here. We can do it using the mask. So what you need to do is hold Shift and click on the mask. Now the mask is gone, but it's not deleted. It's still here. If I hold Shift and click again, it will come back as it was. Okay? So for now, let's go ahead, hold Shift and click. Make sure you have the image selected and not the mask. Let's go to our friend object selection. Make sure you have lasso, not rectangle. And then let's just select the parts of the arm that we need. For example, like this. I'm gonna go ahead and make a rough drawing. There we go. Let's select the quick selection tool to adjust this part. Hold Alt or Option and then just bring it down like this. Here we go. Let's bring the mask back by holding Shift and clicking on the mask. You can see the selection is good, but we are still missing this part. So let's hide the mask again. Go back to the object selection tool, hold Shift, and then let's select the area that we need. I think this part's. Let's see now. Alright, okay, we have it. Yeah, that's what we need. Now here's the thing, guys. If you want the hand to appear here under the selection, you need to fill it with whites, because as I said, when you apply a mask, white reveals and black conceals. And the whites that you're gonna apply need to be applied to the mask thumbnail and not to the picture thumbnail. Because if I apply white to the picture, it's just gonna be normal whites. We need to apply it to the mask so it can reveal what's under the mask, which is this picture. So click on the mask. Go to Edit, Fill, then you will have this window popping up, and right here under the options, content you want to select white, and right here you leave normal, blend normal, and then opacity 100%. Click OK, and then here we go, we have the hand. Now it looks like the hand is coming out from the frame. And now if you want to delete the mask, you can just click on a mask and drag it right here to the trash can. Now the mask is deleted. Okay, guys? So let's bring it back and then just leave our composition like this. So you can see this is a beautiful technique and this is a beautiful composition. I see this a lot on social media and Facebook and all that stuff. So I want you to go ahead and retry what we just did right now. Okay guys, so I want you to go ahead and open these two pictures under Sky Selection folder. And in this lecture, I want to talk about the Sky Selection. Now, this is a new feature only available in Photoshop CC 2021, and it's not available in the previous version of Photoshop. Now, here's the thing. Let's say you want to select the sky right here. The most obvious choice would be, of course, the Magic Wand tool. So, if I go ahead and click to select the sky, you see that it's going to be a problem. It's going to select the sky and a little bit of the mountain because we have same colors on the sky and on a mountain. If I deselect and check contiguous, I can select the sky. It's going to do a good job. But again, if I try to make a whole selection, I'm going to run into troubles. Again, selected part of the mountains because this color is same as the color right here. So thanks the Lords and Valhalla, Adobe introduced a new feature called Sky Replacement. So with this picture selected or not selected, you can come over here to select and you will find sky. So just click on sky, wait a little bit. And here we have it, a perfect selection that we could not get by using any of the automatic selection tools. And the only way to get a perfect selection like this is by using the pen tool. So now we can inverse the selection, select and mask. You can see how it's did a perfect job. Now let's output this to a layer mask and then click OK. And here we have it. Now I can go to File, Place Embedded. And then I can place, for example, this picture behind the mountains. So I'm just going to place it beneath the mountain layer. Control Command T. And here we have it. Okay, guys? Now, one more selection I wanted to show you. One more selection I wanted to talk about is that if you have a picture like this with a solid color background, you can easily select the subjects just by one click. So for example, if I select the Magic Wand tool, I can click right here on Select Subjects and it will select the subjects automatically for me. But of course, this does not work all the time. It works only with some pictures that are easy to select. Okay, guys? That's why it's very important to understand how all the selection tools in Photoshop work. Now I can just Command C, Command V here. And I can place this guy here. Okay. And now, of course, we can just adjust the colors like this, and we're good to go. Okay, guys, so that was pretty much all, and this is the last lecture of this first section of Photoshop course about different selection tools and masking. So your assignment, guys, for now is to go ahead and recreate this composition using the images that I provided you. So come over here to File, Open, again, same procedure, and find this folder called Class Project Selections and Masking. Open these two pictures. Okay, guys? So let's go back to this. So all the tools that I used here, we talked about in previous lectures. And this is pretty easy. If you cannot do it, don't worry. Just go ahead and rewatch the lectures until you know how to create this composition. So I'm going to give you a hint. You can use Sky Replacement or you can use the Magic Wand tool. And then you're going to use the elliptical marquee tool. And then you will just go to Image and automatically match colors. Okay, pretty easy, guys. Once you do this, I want you to go ahead and upload your composition so I can see how you did, either here or you can do it by joining my Facebook group and then uploading the composition. Okay, so I'm gonna do it real quick, but I hope you go ahead and recreate the composition without looking into the answers. So select the Magic Wand tool, make sure you have contiguous checked, and then just select the sky like this. Because if you don't have contiguous checked, it will also check the darkest area of the image. Go to select, inverse selection, open the layers panel, select and mask, click on the brush, make sure you have minus checked here, and then just try to delete those small stars right here. So I'm just fixing areas of the stars. There we go. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more, and this time I'm going to select the refine edge tool and then just refine the selection between the fire and the lights coming out from the fire and the sky. Smart radius, increase the feather a little bit, shift edges minus a little bit. There we go, looks good. Output to layer mask, because we're gonna be working non-destructively from now on, because we know how to use layer masks. Okay, and here we have it, guys. Now select the sky, Control Command C, Control Command V, place it below the Sahara, Control Command T, and then just adjust the scaling of everything. Okay, F7 for the layers. Make sure you have the sky selected, image, auto color, auto contrast, auto tone. Now with the sky layer still selected, select the elliptical marquee tool, hold shifts to draw a well proportioned circle like this, a big one. Hope that was bad. Control Command Z to undo and then just redo it. Now hold shifts and drag, release the mouse, but don't release the shift until you have the circle. Position the circle in the center. The guides will let you know that you are in the center. Select, transform selection. I'm just going to increase it a little bit more like this. There you go. Okay, now Control Command C, Control Command V, Control Command T for free transform, and then just decrease the size. Here we go. Center it, bring it down behind the desert, the Sahara. Alright, guys, and here we have our beautiful composition. Simple but beautiful.